Hello, my name is Bill Prater. I am in our COM 622 Organizational Communication class. Most of you have seen my presentation already from week 2 about chapter 4. So I'm going to give you a very brief introduction on LMX Theory, which is the abbreviation for Leader-Member Exchange Theory, excuse me. What I plan on doing today is giving you a brief rundown of what it is, what constitutes LMX theory, some of the strengths behind it, and some of the weaknesses that go with, and then my suggestions on what I think LMX theory needs in order to progress as we go on through the future. So, starting, what is leader-member exchange theory? LMX theory, according to Nordhaus, who looks at it from a little differently than organizational does, says the LMX theory conceives leadership as a process that is focused on the interactions between a leader and subordinates. Now, I don't typically read what's on my screen or on a PowerPoint. For those who've had me in class before, they know that. But I think this is important because when it comes to the leader-follower, for lack of a better word, the connection between the two, quite often, whether we look at it trait-based or behavior-based, we looked at it in terms of the leader or in terms of the follower, and we don't look through it through the process. What I find so fascinating about leader-member exchange theory is it does look at communication as communication is supposed to be looked at. As we've taken other communication classes, we have found out that leader-member exchange theory typically looks at member exchange, or it looks at all communication as a process. I send out a message, the follower or the other person takes it in, and then it goes back and forth. And this looks at the message in terms of a dyad. And it looks at it in terms of the communication and the process that happens in order to try to make leaders better leaders, to make followers stronger followers, and to make the organization as a whole stronger. And that's what I think's fascinating, because this one gives you that opportunity. So, in leader-member exchange theory, the key thing is that we're looking at the dyad. Even if it's one leader talking to several followers in an organization, which is quite often the case, this is looking specifically at each interaction of those. For instance, if I am a leader, which I believe that I am, for instance, in my terms as being the teacher of a classroom, I am giving out information to all of my students. So if I have a class of 23 students, I'm giving out something to all of them at one time. But they're not all receiving the message the same. They all don't take it in the same because of their experiences, etc. And then I don't give it back the same way. And that's what's cool about leader-member exchange, is I look at those individually. The way it's broken down is it looks at in terms of the in-group and the out-group. And the titles there are pretty obvious in what they're trying to say. In the in-group, those are the people that have gained the followers' trust, for lack of a better term, and therefore they take in that information, and they're given more information. They're typically given more opportunities. They're given the chance to do things outside the box, things that aren't necessarily part of the job, and there's usually a stronger communication between the two. When it comes to the out group, those are people that typically the leader hasn't gotten along with. They may or may not like their job. The connotation is, and I'm going to argue a little bit differently shortly, but they come in, they do what's expected of them, they're great workers, they do their job, and then they simply go home. And so it's pretty simple. I mean, it's almost as if who is the popular kids that's in with the leader and who are the non-popular kids that are not. So it looks at leader-member exchange, breaks down those two groups. Now, what we have here is, what are the strengths? Well, the strengths are the roles are clearly defined. Anytime you have a theory, you want to have a theory that works, practicality. And a lot of our theories, you can see them taking place, but you don't see the progress. And this one is very simple. The in-group has certain jobs, and they do them, and the out-group has certain jobs that they do them, but when it comes down to thinking outside the box, doing other jobs, etc., you know who's going to get that job, and you know what it takes. You also know that the leader is often in charge of promotion or giving people progression, and if they are not, they're typically a closer link to those who do have the ability to make that happen. And therefore, getting in with them for promotion possibilities, etc., is important. And so that's some of the strengths of this. When it comes to weakness, obviously it involves the groups. If you're part of the in-group, that seems to be where you would want to be. If you're in the out-group, however, you're not. So it creates a clique system when all of society kind of tells us that cliques is a bad thing. It's also very difficult to walk through because it really puts a lot of pressure on the leader of the organization, because the leader of the organization, what if I'm in the out group and I want to be in the in group, but we're not compatible? The chances of me getting into the in group are slim to none. Even if I do my job, even if I'm a hard worker, the chance to gain their confidence and to gain their trust and to gain the chance to get other jobs done, etc., that I don't have that opportunity simply because it wasn't awarded to me. So it really makes the leader have to be ethical and say, you know what, this person belongs in the in group, even though I would never hang out with this person. And it has a social aspect, but you don't have to create it through social means, and that makes it very difficult on the leader of this organization. I think more than the follower. I put here teamwork divides the task and multiplies the success. The whole reason that we have the in-group and the out-group is that they're necessary. I personally don't like the terms in-group and out-group because it does delineate. What needs to happen is I think there needs to be research done into them. And what I mean by that is it seems like everyone would want to be part of the in-group, but the out-group is the quote-unquote evil necessity. There are people who are just going to do their job and go home that will never be part of the in-group. I would argue that, yes, both groups do need to exist. I don't like the terminology of in-group and out-group. I do believe that those in the out-group, there are a lot of people who do. There are a lot of people who don't want to become best friends with their leader. They don't want to advance. They're very happy with what they have. Obviously, they wouldn't mind races, etc., but they don't necessarily want the extra work or the extra responsibility, and that's completely okay. What has to happen is some sort of mechanism to allow people to be in the group that they want to be in. So I think this theory is great. I think you can see it working in action very well, but I think it does need a lot of work to make it work practically. So thank you. That was very, very brief, but I wanted to fit in the time frame, so thank you. I look forward to looking at your presentations as well, and God bless.